Welcome to preparing my weekly meal for my Scottish Terrier and my Westie, River and Rory. And what you have here is basically what I'm about to do is prepare their week-long meal, which we feed them once a day. I do roughly 4.5 ounces for River and 5.5 ounces for Rory. And what we have here is basically the ingredients that I put together, that I grind up together. And I use a grinder like a mixer, and sometimes I use it like a grinder. But basically I double grind everything. And what we have today for this week is we're going to be doing beef. Now normally we do a lot of chicken. We do a lot of raw organic chicken. But we like to switch up the proteins. It's a good idea to switch up the proteins. So what we have over here right now is we have the can of pumpkin. And you see it's open. There's half a can in the can already, and there's half the can that's in the Tupperware below the grinder. What we have in each of them is a tablespoon of organic coconut oil. And what we do is we mix that within the pumpkin, and that gets it breaks down very nicely, and it's very good for their skin and very good for their coats. But we're mixing up something today in the recipe. Normally we do 2 cans of tuna fish, white, the albacore, white, whatever it is, in the water. Tuna fish, but today we've got 1 can of tuna fish and 1 can of sardines, which is something new we've just added, and they seem to love it. It's the sardines in water, and again, it's 1 and 1. And then I've got 6 hard-boiled eggs, cut in halves, 24 carrots, baby carrots, 4 celery stalks cut in thirds. Then we've got the raw organic ground beef, which is what you see in the center there, and that is 2 pounds of raw organic grass-fed beef. And again, the pumpkin is over in the other half of the pumpkin is right below the grinder in the Tupperware tray. And what I basically do is combine all these things, grind it once, And now why I use the grinder again is normally I'm using chicken legs. And if I wasn't doing the beef today, I'd be doing 12 drumsticks, chicken drumsticks. But because we're doing beef, it's just a different mix-up of the recipe for everybody to see. And we're going to go ahead and do this. Now what I do is normally I run it once, and I take a little bit from each thing, and I just kind of put it together. And then I run it one more time to mix it properly. And then that Tupperware gets sealed and put in the fridge, and when it's dinner time, we dish it out. We dish it out on plates that have, we have a little scale underneath it. We weigh it all out and make sure it's all copacetic. And they seem to really enjoy it, and it seems to get them a lot of energy, very healthy. I think we're going to be adding rabbit soon, possibly squirrel, all depending on how well the economy's doing. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and show you this. Okay, so here's basically what we do. We kind of just mix up the scheduling here of how we put this stuff in. There's no real order. We kind of just put it in, mix it up, and then we go back to it and run it again. So here we go. So now we're at the halfway point. Again, I will take the rest of the other half of the can of pumpkin, mix it to the top. Again, in this there was a tablespoon of raw organic coconut oil, which basically looks like clear, oh, not clear, white butter. It's very good stuff. It's good for cooking. It's delicious. Super healthy. I'm sure in a year from now they'll tell us it's cancer causing. That's what I do every 15 minutes to change the story. But hey, we can only do with what we know. Now we just finished grinding up the rest of the stuff. Okay. Again, give it a little bit of a chance to go through. There's still stuff coming through the tube here, the pipe. But you get the general idea, right? Now what I like to do when I'm using beef, and there's times that I'll use steak, a T-bone steak on the bone. You got to be careful because even when you're doing chicken with drumsticks, you want to feed the drumsticks in the small leg part, and the bottom part of the leg first, because you want the grinder to eat that first. If there's too much that's put in this grinder, it's too heavy, it will jam. You don't want that to happen because it's a real mess to clean it up mid doing this stuff. So what I'm going to do real quick, I'm going to now take the front half off. Always make sure you're turned off. You probably want to unplug this. I've done this so many times that I'm not really worried about it. What I'm going to do here, I forget what they call this, the official name for this thing, the screen maybe? I don't know. I forget what they actually call that thing. But I'm going to put in one that's has smaller holes in it. So it's going to produce a finer blend. And I like to do that especially when I'm using steak. Because you want the steak bone, the raw steak bone, because they're machine cut at the butcher's. You want the steak bone to be, not sharp. Not something that can bother them. And honestly, if you have terriers, you already know nothing really sort of bothers them like that. But still, I always find it for the better. Do not fear the noise of the grinder. It is an industrial grade grinder is loud. Now what I'll do is I'll just take some of this stuff, put it all right back in. Something to know about the grinder, when you're all said and done with making the stuff, your concoction, you're going to want to put it in water, the parts, almost immediately, because they are tough to clean. Not tough to clean, but they take their time. So, there's that, and then simply all I do is use a spoon, I start bringing some stuff down again. Usually the first stuff that comes down will need to go back in, as it will be, what was sort of stuck in the pipe. I'll grab this again. Notice how fine those are now? How much thinner? And we just sort of work it on down. listen, you will hear the sound of the puppies starting to beg for their dinner. And that, my good friends, is meal prep for the Scotty and the Westie. Variation, we'll call it 2, because the chicken is the primary, and steak is like the third. But with meat prices being what they are, we may be switching to squirrel anytime soon. Just saying. Enjoy, kids.